Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's that time once again. We are going to have our bestie book tea where we discuss the books that we read this week with 1 minute synopsises on each book. Mandy. So,
hey.
So grab your favorite beverage. I've got tea. What do you have?
Coffee.
Always. And your favorite coaster, and let's sit down and have a discussion about the books that we read. All right, Mandy, tell me about your reading week.
I read 6 books. Mm-hmm. I did have a DNF, but I made it maybe like 15% in when I decided to DNF it, so I don't count that as a book read. Right. I did put it on my Goodreads as a DNF. I just didn't put the date, so it doesn't count as a book. Mm-hmm. I had a good read and I had a rough read. You'll hear all about it.
I'm sure we will. Awesome. Well, I had 9 books, and I had a couple really good ones, and I had a couple of, oh my God, what are my readings? And a couple, this could have been better. So I kind of feel you for the reading week. I do. Yeah. So let's
okay, I'm getting the timer ready.
Yeah, before we get started,
you're the one that needs it.
Oh yeah, I'm the one that needs it. Before we get started with that, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are still doing our Road to 1K giveaway. We are still giving away the Candy Steiner Make Me Hate You, which is the Belle Book Box edition, and it is signed by Candy Steiner. We are extremely close. Like, I think we'll be giving this away within the next week or so, don't you, Mandy?
I hope so.
I think so. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And then we'll have more things after that.
Yep, because we're giving away when we hit 100, and we're doing this till 1,000. So we've got lots of ideas, lots of fun things. So, yes. All right, my dear. Who's going first?
You're going first. You had more reads.
Oh, that's right. I had more reads than you. So the first book that I read this week is The Archer and His Rosebud by Mindy Michele. This one, you can actually see my in-depth thoughts in the video that posted, I think it was Thursday of this last week, on our channel. It is titled Hidden Gems, I believe. And this is the book that Mandy had me read, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, but it is about a single mom who's 18, who moves in next door to a divorced dad with 2 kids, and it's their relationship. But again, you guys can hear all about it if you go watch that video. So let's go to the next one. You have to reset my timer, please.
I'm resetting it.
Okay. Is it reset?
I've got you.
Okay. So then the next book that I read is The Birthday List by Devney Perry. This one is an emotional read. This one I gave 4 stars to. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of hard to read, but it was good. This is about Cole and Poppy. So Poppy is married to a guy named Jamie, and the night before their 1-year wedding anniversary, he goes out to the liquor store to get some things for a party, and he never comes home. The cop that comes to her door to tell her that he's never coming home again is Cole. So in the meantime, like, Jamie also had like this list on his birthday for years. Like, he planned out for like his 45th birthday. He had things that he wanted to do. So we fast forward 5 years later, Poppy is opening a restaurant because that is one of the things on his list, and she's trying to fulfill these needs. And then Cole shows back up in her life, and now he's not just a police officer, he's a detective now. The case is still open. They don't know who did what they did to Jamie. And so we're dealing with that, but we're also dealing with Poppy moving forward in life and moving on and finding love again. And so it was really emotional. It was really great. I really enjoyed it. Go read it.
You must be practicing.
Hold on. I gotta change this. Hold on. I'm not practicing. I'm just good. Okay, tell me about yours.
Okay, my first book was Getting Schooled by Emma Chase. It is the first book in her Getting Some series. This is free on Audible, so that's where I listened to it. I absolutely love this. 5 stars. So Kylie is in her 30s, and she has to move home to take care of her parents. This book is hilarious because her parents get into a car accident. So she's in her 30s. Her parents are like in their 60s, and they get in a car accident because her mom is giving her dad a BJ.
Yay!
She has to move back home to help take care of them after their car accident. So she decides to get a job at the high school where she actually went to high school as a substitute for like a year-long position. And when she gets there, she runs into Garrett, who is a high school teacher there and also the football coach. And Garrett is also her high school sweetheart. He has kind of turned into a playboy since then. And this is kind of their second chance romance. I really loved it. It has a lot of hilarious things in it. So it actually, when you're listening to it, you actually feel more like you're watching like a comedy TV show than like reading like a book, if that makes sense.
And the whole like how the parents were in the accident, that is, I was sitting there going, that's something that's so going to happen to me someday. I can see it. I can see the writing on the wall. Like, I'm going to have to go home and take care of my parents or grandparents for that matter. I thought it was hilarious because yeah.
Yeah. And then Garrett asks, like, what happened to your parents? And so she has to tell him. And he's like, I already knew.
I know. It was funny. It was a good read. And I love that it's free on Audible. So if you have an Audible subscription,
yes,
go get it. It's in the Audible catalog.
Yeah. So, I think there's 3 or 4 of them in that series, and they were all free.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
all right.
Okay. So here's my first disappointment of the week. Let's discuss it.
All right. In 1 minute. Go.
In 1 minute. Okay. So the next book I read was called Rabid by Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy. I was looking for a good shifter romance. This is not it. I gave it 2 stars. The heroine and the hero do not meet until like 30-35% of the book in. I was like, when is this going to get started? What is going on? She's a part of a clan. Her alpha is a bad guy. He's wanting her. She doesn't want him. She takes him off. Then he throws her out into the opposing clan's wilderness. They find her, and the alpha and her there have a thing. It didn't do it. It didn't do it. I'm done. It didn't do it. Nope. It was just all sorts of wrong.
All right. With 3 seconds to spare.
It really was. It was not. I think there's some really high ratings for this book, and I'm like, I don't get it. So, sorry, it wasn't for me. Next.
All right. Okay, I have Getting Played by Emma Chase. This is book number 2 in her Getting Some series. This is also on Audible, and it's also free. And it follows Dean and Lainey. So read this book if you like one-night stands with a surprise pregnancy, and again, that humor. So Dean and Lainey hook up one summer when Dean is touring with his band. He's also a high school teacher at the same school Garrett's at. And he's in this band, but they don't really advertise. It's kind of just something fun they do, and they play the same places during the summer. Well, that's where he meets Lainey. That's where they have their one-night stand, and they don't exchange phone numbers after this. Well, fast forward I think it's about 3 or 4 months, and Dean is still thinking about Lainey, which is different for him because he's like really into the, non-committal type stuff, but he can't stop thinking about Lainey. And Lainey can't stop thinking about Dean because she is priggers. And she ends up, by just pure coincidence, moving back to the same town that Dean lives in, and she runs into him when she goes to her son's high school math conference. Surprise!
Because he's the math teacher.
Yes. He's
So
a teacher.
Yeah. I like that one too.
It was good.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay, so then I read A Loyal Betrayal by N.R. Scarano, I believe is how you say the last name. I wanted to love this. I really did. She's a newer author. I think you could kind of tell in the book. This is a King Arthur and Guinevere retelling where she actually is with King Arthur. Lancelot is not the main love interest in this book. First of all, it's written in third person, which a lot of historicals are. That's fine. But when you're in the chapter and she's talking, like, it would switch to POVs in the middle of a chapter or middle of a paragraph for the most part. And we would even get like side people's POVs that have not a lot to do with the story, like what they were thinking. It was just a little odd. There's a huge time jump about 15% into the book, which was, again, a little odd. It had a lot of potential. There's a lot that needs to be cleaned up. So try it. I mean, if you want that. I love retellings, and Guinevere, like Camelot retelling, it's great. But all I could picture was Richard Gere. So I had a hard time with that one. Have you ever noticed, and this is the other thing I was thinking about the whole time I was reading this book, the way Richard Gere kisses in his movies, he eats the heroine's face every time. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it's
all
not
right.
just
My turn.
okay.
So my next book was Dirty by Kylie Scott. It's the first book in her Dive Bar series. I really enjoy Kylie Scott, so I was very excited about this book. This is Vaughn and Lydia. Vaughn comes home and finds Lydia in his bathroom in a wedding dress. She is a runaway bride because she found out moments before she was supposed to walk down the aisle that her husband was cheating on her with the best man. So she's hiding here. So the next logical thing to happen would be Vaughn would invite her to stay with him.
I know.
Again, I normally love Kylie Scott. Like, so this book just wasn't for me. I rated it 3 stars. I really thought it was going to be good. Like, I mean, he comes home and here's a bride in his bathroom. Like, this could have gone a lot different. There needed to be some reason that they were forced for her to stay there. Like, they were out in the middle of nowhere and the bridge was gone. Like, something. It was just weird that he's like, well, you can just stay here. That's fine. And then, oh, well, you know, obviously I'm leaving in a couple weeks, so we should start hooking up right away. Like, it just didn't flow right for me. I love the idea. Again, love Kylie Scott. It just, this book,
the execution wasn't there, and it was almost insta lovey, but yet it wasn't because he's fighting it. So
yeah,
it was weird. I agree. Yeah, wasn't my favorite either. But let's talk about one that was my favorite this week.
All right, go.
Okay, so I read Our Way by T.L. Swan. This is one that I put off reading because it was really like the hype book for a while, and I just can't do it when it's a hype book because then I'm afraid everybody else is going to influence my opinion. But this is about Nathan and Eliza. They meet and they've been best friends for 10 years. Nathan has only ever slept with men. He's only had one relationship with a guy, and then he's just had one night stands with men. Eliza and him are besties. They like sleep in the same bed every night. They call each other babe and honey. There's just no sex involved because he's attracted to men as far as she knows. And as far as he knows as well. Obviously, she's attracted to him. She's been in love with him forever, but he's just her best friend. Just before they leave for a vacation, he gets her for her birthday because he's a very wealthy doctor. He invents this heart thing and whatever. So he's taking her on this exotic vacation. She tries on a bikini in front of him, and he gets a woody. And he's like, wait a minute. So what is this? What is this? So, that's pretty much like where the story takes off. It's them finding each other, them working through their issues. He never refers to himself as gay, and that stuff comes out. I think it's more of a pansexual situation. He sees a counselor. It's really interesting some of the points that are made in this book because she's like worried that he's going to leave her for another man when they start having their relationship, and they're like, but would you worry that he'd leave you for another woman? And she's like, no, but the man has what he needs. What, you know, like it has different parts than me. It was just very interesting. I really enjoyed it. 5 stars.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
What?
I do not have a 5-star book for you.
I'm not surprised you told me.
My next book is Medicine Man by Saffron A. Kent. It was a 2-star read for me. I don't understand people. So if you've watched any videos of ours, you know that I love a good age gap romance with that taboo factor. So what better one to have than you have an 18-year-old 18-year-old in a mental hospital and her psychiatrist doctor who's older than her. Okay. should have been a 5-star out of this world read. I despised it. It was awful. There was no development of their relationship. Like, I get that she sees him and she's attracted to him. And so that part kind of makes sense. But why is he attracted to her? They literally have like one meeting and all of a sudden he's like dropping his pants for her and then saying, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. It can't happen again. And then he's coming into her room at night. There was no development. And he's been a doctor for a long time. So it just didn't make sense other than he's like a creeper sleeping with his patients. And that's not how the book was written, but that's the vibes you get. And so I don't know. Other people don't agree with me. I mean, it's rated fairly high on Goodreads, but I did check. There were 317 other people who agreed with me that it was a 2-star read. Or no, maybe it was 700. I can't remember. There were people that agreed with me.
You gave me the exact number several times.
I am not crazy. And then the other thing that really did me in is at the end of the book, it starts setting up her book number 3. And I just, that had an ick factor to me that I did not like. And so it just sealed the deal that I was just done with this book.
Yeah.
I powered through because I kept waiting for it to get better because people talk so highly about it, but bleh, did not like it. I'm like, so sorry.
We talked about it before. I gave it 4 stars when I read it, but I also read it like the very beginning of my reading journey. And I think now if I were to go back, it probably wouldn't be that high.
Well, don't waste your time.
I'm not going to.
I was very misled by Goodreads on this one. Everyone has their own opinions. Just for me, it didn't work.
Yes, I get it. 100%.
All right.
Okay, so my next read.
You have something happy for us.
Fairly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I read Until Lily by Aurora Rose Reynolds. This is another one that I see recommended all the time, especially for secret baby situation. Although I don't know that I would call it secret baby, but okay. So this is about Cash and Lily. I gave this one 3 stars. I enjoyed it. Well, yeah, okay. We'll just talk about that. So this is where Cash and Lily have met. He woos her, whatever. They sleep together one time. He takes her virginity and then he breaks up with her and goes off and marries another girl who he'd been sleeping with because that girl was pregnant apparently. Well, Lily finds out she's pregnant too and she tells him and he texts her, like, this is all over text. And he's like, yeah, go get rid of it. And so she decides to keep her baby and just do it without him. Fast forward 3 years later, she runs into him and he's there with his little boy at a jump zone type place, a ball pit, jump zone, that kind of a thing. And he sees a little girl, immediately knows it's hers because that is how this happens. You just immediately know. And they're like almost insta back together. There's no groveling. There's nothing. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed some aspects of it. I did enjoy the book. There's just, if I had to suspend my disbelief there for a little while because I'm like, no, you don't just walk away and be like, no, I don't want you and your baby. And then come back and be like, yeah, that's my woman. It don't work that way.
So after that extremely disappointing read, I needed to get out of my funk. So I went back to Cora Reilly, Born in Blood, Mafia Chronicles, and I read Bound by Vengeance, which is number 5 in that series. This was a 4-star read for me. I felt it started off a little slow because we're getting new characters because we're in Vegas, baby. And so it just took a little while for it to get going. And then once I was really getting into it, we were at the end. So there's that. So this is Cora and Growl, and Cara's dad has betrayed Falcone, who is the head of the Las Vegas mafia area. And so as punishment, Falcone takes Cora and gives her to his monsterish hitman killer guy, his that right hand man that does all the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And that's Growl, and he has this big gnarly scar on him, and so he's just very intimidating guy. And then as her dad is witnessing all this go down, we off dad. Mm-hmm. And so she goes off with Growl, and this is that story. And
Yes.
so it's kind of like, ooh, how's Cora Reilly going to make this work? But it really starts to set up stuff that I believe is going to come into motion. I don't want to talk about how the book wraps up at all, but it does tie back into what mafia world we're used to reading in this series.
It's setting up the Cora Chronicles, which are my absolute favorite of hers. So, and I'm so proud of you. You said it is Falcone, which is how they say it in the audio. And
yeah, well, somebody gets on me if I don't pronounce things correctly.
I do, but I'm not always right. So
I was so terrified when I read A Court of Thorns and Roses.
I was like, call you. It is Resand, according to the author. I was sending you TikToks about that and stuff. Favorite? Yes. Anyhow.
All right. What'd you read next?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Still looking for a good shifter book. Didn't find it. I read the Lycan and the Princess by Milana Jax. I read several Milana Jax books. They're always a little different, but I always enjoy them. I didn't enjoy this one. I gave it 2 stars. It was just a royal stinking mess. This one is about Lennox, who is a wolf shifter. And he has found his mate years ago. He's like 101. She's just turning 18 right now. So I normally have no problem with that, but I don't know. This one just didn't do it. She's a princess from a different land. She's more human than anything. There's also Fae in here. There was a lot of a backstory that we didn't get, or it felt like I was missing a book where I was like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? Even though this is the first book in the series. So it was just kind of a jumbled mess. I read it. I didn't love it. Because it was, I can barely even tell you what it was about, other than it was him trying to get his princess to come home with him because she's hiding in a fake court because people are after her. Really, it was hard. It was really hard. It was hard. It's hard to find good shifter books. I'm sorry. It just is.
All right.
Next.
So next I have Crave Me by M. Robinson. This is an addiction book. And it follows Austin and Briggs. Briggs is a girl. It's a nickname that she has. And so Austin is our eventually drug addicted hero. And Briggs, at one point in time, was his drug dealer. And this is their story. If we just take this book and this is going to be a little rant, sorry. If we just take the book on the plot and that part, it was probably a 5-star read for me. I ended up rating it only 3 stars because there were a couple problems. There are a lot of typos in this book, which was really, really distracting to the point where when the point of view changes, the character's name was wrong. And so you're reading it and you're like, wait, why is she sitting with these people drinking a beer? This doesn't make sense. And then you realize, oh, it's because the point of view name was wrong. And there's just tons of stuff like that throughout the book that really kind of took it from that 5-star read down to a 4-star read. And then there were quite a few times where I was very emotional during this book. And when we get to the end, it's wrapping up everything like it should with, it's Hia.
It's Hia.
And then all of a sudden, in like the last paragraph, I actually read this to my husband. I'm like, so this is what the book is about. And then listen to this last paragraph. There's a huge cliffhanger that makes absolutely no sense because their story is literally over. The author actually says that. And then it's a cliffhanger about another character in the book. But this is the last book in the series.
What?
And then the next book that she is promoting at the end of this book has nothing to do with this character. So I'm super lost on how we're supposed to ever find anything out. It is not free on Kindle Unlimited. So I did pay for this book. And I'm like, I'm not going to go pay for a bunch of books trying to solve this mystery that I really don't give a crap about at this point. But it was just so weird to me. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why? I don't get that. Like
and
a lot of authors.
It was M. Robinson?
Mm-hmm. A lot of authors will set up their characters, their side characters for the next book. And like, oh, I really want to read their story. But this was just so bizarre. And I don't want to give anything away in case anybody wants to read it. Because if you can look past those 2 things, like just stop at the epilogue. Like just stop there. Don't read the last page.
Yeah, but
And if
how
you can
old is
overlook
it?
all the errors. And then I saw in the reviews that other people, after I finished it, I'm what? And so there were some other people who complained about the cliffhanger too, and there were quite a few people who complained about the formatting and the typos and things like that. But this book was published in 2016, so I don't understand, like, if you're getting that feedback, why aren't you going back and fixing it? Because it could have been a really strong book. And even with the cliffhanger, it still would have been a 4 if all that other stuff would have been corrected.
And I read several M. Robinson books, and that is not how. No, normally there's no typos. There's, you know what I mean? Like that's just weird. That's weird. It makes me wonder if that was one of her first books, but I don't know. And even then, go back and fix the problem.
Well, so this is the 4th book in a series, but it says it's a standalone, and then the other 3 about 3 other characters that you kind of see throughout this book. And so it just, I don't know. It goes to show you though, like, this is probably, you're saying you've read other books that aren't like that. But for me, I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to go spend money on books by her anymore after this. And so it's just, I don't know, a good lesson for authors that you need to, especially, like, I get sometimes like there might be 1 or 2. This is consistent and it really takes away from the book. And if you're getting that feedback, like, go and fix it.
Yeah.
Like, your work is amazing, so fix those things so you're not losing that.
Yeah, because it doesn't make you want to run out and read another one of her books.
Mm-mm.
So, lesson learned.
So that's how I ended my reading week, and now I have to figure out what I'm going to read because I just was pissy all around.
Okay, well, let me tell you about my last 2. Maybe you want to read one of these.
All right.
These are decent. These are good. So, I read Steel King by Devney Perry. I had to just go to Devney Perry. I knew that she'd give me something good. I've actually tried to read this book like 3 different times, and I just couldn't get into it. But this time I was able to do it. I've read a few of hers lately. This was called the 10 Gypsy series, and then she changed the name. But this is about Bryce and Dash. So Bryce has moved back home to Montana. She's working for her dad as a newspaper reporter. Dash is the ex-president of the 10 Gypsies Motorcycle Club, and they have just disbanded like a year or 2 before. And when she gets there and you know, she's been working for a little while, Dash's dad is arrested because there's a murder in town and he is the prime suspect. And so she's trying to investigate that murder and, you know, to get the story, but she's also wanting to get the story on the 10 Gypsies themselves and why they disbanded and what happened there. And so this is her story with her and Dash. I really loved it. I love that she was an older heroine. She was 35 and she talked about how she, you know, was wanting a family and that might not be happening for her. Like, it was just very interesting. I love that she was an older heroine. That was great. So I gave that one 4 stars. I was finally able to get into it. And then my last one. Okay. I read Keep This Promise by Corinne Michaels. This is the 3rd or 4th in the series. Mandy, you read the first one. It's the one where she has amnesia. So I haven't read. Yeah, help me remember. I haven't read those books. I probably should have. I think I would have enjoyed this a little bit more if I had, because there's this underlying story that's going on.
Hold up.
What?
Help Me Remember is like one of my favorite books. And yes, that series, there's a mystery that's going on throughout that series that even though they're standalones, it's way better if you start with one.
Well, and I'll tell you, so I started Help Me Remember, and then I was like, I couldn't get into it. This was in January. I couldn't get into it in January. I wasn't in the mood for it. And so I was like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till I am in the mood for an amnesia book. I wasn't in the mood. This is when I had that huge project at work. I just couldn't get into it. But this one has like a mystery baby situation. So I was all over it, right? So let's discuss this one. Stop being offended.
Oh, there goes your time. Sorry.
Whoopsie. Let's not be offended and let me tell the people about the book. So this is about Holden and Sophie. So Sophie and Holden have a one-night stand in a bathroom in Vegas 4 years prior to this, to when the book starts. They don't exchange names. It's just literally bang in the bathroom and go. And so it was a crazy night. Sophie lives in England. And so when the book starts out, she's married. her and her husband is like, she married her best friend. He has a heart condition that he's dying from. And he's literally like in the hospital dying at this point, like minutes left. And he tells her to get their daughter, which he's claimed the daughter is his, and go. She needs to go. There's been things set up for her. She has to be safe. He has to keep her safe. She needs to go. So she has no clue what's going on. And so she follows these breadcrumbs. These people come to help her, even though she's got no clue what's going on. And it takes her to Holden, who is the father of her daughter, who she didn't even have his name. And she's like, how did he have this information? How am I getting here? So there's this huge mystery that's unraveling throughout this book. I gave it 4 stars, but I think I would have given it 5 stars had I read the first couple of books in the series and understood what was really going on. So now I need to go back and do that. But it was great. It was a great story.
I don't think I read that one. I have to go back and look. That doesn't sound familiar.
I think it's the latest one in that series. Yeah, I need to go back and read the others. It was great. I just
Help Me Remember came out last June, and so I think there's been
this came out, the audio for this I think came out in January.
Yeah.
And I think it came out about the same time the book came out. So that is all that we have for you guys this week.
Make sure to check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.